What would it be like to clock out from your shift and get a notification on your phone that you clocked out and you earned X amount of dollars today and you have access to that money right now? So you can go take care of what you need to take care of. You can go out with your friends. You can take care of your family. You can take care of anything that's worrying you, and you can live a stress-free life working in the hospitality industry. That is a question that we answer today on the Restaurant Growth Podcast. I'm DJ, your host, and today on the show, we had the pleasure of welcoming Niko Simko. Niko's the CEO and founder of a company called Clair. Clair is an on-demand pay provider for businesses that have people that work shifts, not salary, shift workers, hourly workers, anyone who gets paid and uses a time clock. We got to chatting about how offering real demand pay can be a differentiator in this tough labor market, how exactly it works, and we clear up some of the misconceptions about what it means for an employer to offer real-time pay for the employees. It was a really great conversation. It's something I firmly believe in, and something at 7 Shifts we're happy to partner with Clair on. So without further ado, here's Niko and I's conversation. Hey Niko, how's it going?
Hey Dominique, good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. It's the winter starting here in New York.
Oh yeah, I'm here in New York as well. So it's getting there. It's getting a little chilly at night. Heat came on this morning. You could feel the clicking of the radiators, which very any other New Yorkers listening will know that is a very familiar sound in the middle of the night. But yeah, I'm super excited to have you on the show today. We're going to get right into it. Niko is the founder and CEO of Clair, which is a real-time payments company that provides the option for businesses to use real-time pay, which we'll get into a little bit more. But first, I'd like Niko, please introduce yourself and talk about how you came to start Clair.
Absolutely. Well, again, Dominique, thank you so much for having me. Big fan of the show, all the way from your first session with Preston, which I know was an internal chat. So I'm Niko Simko, the founder of Clair. I started Clair mostly because I was an hourly worker. I worked through college as an economics tutor. I was also an international student. So actually getting paid, I got paid by physical check. It was really bad. I got paid, on 2-week pay cycle, but my check was always late in the mail because I was the one guy that wasn't able to to set up a bank account yet because I was waiting for my social. So long story short, that's kind of the experience that I had. And then I came up with the idea of Clair with something fairly simple, which was Uber drivers and Lyft drivers were basically cashing out roughly 5 times a day when instant cash out came out. And actually talking to them while I was writing really showed that, we live in an instant economy, but also that more than 125 million people work paycheck to paycheck, and that's more than 50% of consumers. And so, at the end of the month, it gets kind of difficult. And so making sure that you can get, money that you work for today immediately is so important. And so started the company with a very simple mission at heart, which is if you work today, you should get your money today, and you shouldn't pay a single fee around that. So no tip, no transaction fee, no monthly fee, none of that. If it's your money, it should be yours. So we call it a payday wallet because it's your payday and it's in your wallet.
That's perfect. I'm sure there's a lot of hospitality workers, hospitality managers saying, that sounds great. They're probably used to getting tipped out every day in some form, sometimes cash, which is a great benefit of working in that industry, leaving with a little bit of cash in your pocket. But this is kind of taking that even a step further and giving you everything you earn, tips plus your wage, available to you right when you clock out. So, before we get into a little bit more about how restaurants use it, we'd just love to get, kind of understanding of exactly how real-time pay works in general and at Clair.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about kind of the history of real-time pay. So the simplest way to put it is that if an employer decides to run payroll every day, they can. And not every single payroll system and workforce management system would allow them to do this, but in a hypothetical way, they could. Now, it's actually something that virtually no one does for the simple reason that, look, if you're at a restaurant and you accept credit cards, it will take 2-3 days at least for you to get the money. You start paying your employees immediately. You're not in a negative cash position, so it's cash flow treasury management. So there's kind of a no-go zone for that. And so that's why most restaurants or other locations, whether it's in different industries, pay at most weekly. And then during the pandemic, we saw a shift of going weekly to bi-weekly just to have a bit more cash on their bank. So that's one option. Now, the world that we live in is the idea that, hey, employees are not going to want to do this. So they need a third party. Payroll providers are not going to want to do this. Workforce management's a massive lift if they want to do it. So probably they want to partner with a separate company. So that's where we come in. What we say is, look, if an employee wants an advance on their paycheck, we're going to take data from the employer, which is usually just ability to see schedule and clock in and clock out information. Also, what's your pay rate? And that is enough data to know that if you have, if it's, backwards looking, it's very, very low risk to actually know that you can get the money back, and you can just, as a third party, advance it. So you take an external capital line from a bank and you advance it immediately to all the employees. So that's really the two solutions out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're getting the data. I clock in at my shift. I work 8 hours. I clock out. You know that I did that. I'm going to get paid that in 2 weeks' time. So, the risk to kind of, in that case, lend the money now is low because it's coming. And then it just, at that point, it's not a heavy lift for payroll. It's not a heavy lift for the restaurant. It just kind of provides that benefit to the end user, which in this case is the person who just worked 8 hours, 12 hours, whatever it may be. They can go home with that cash. They can take care of what they need to take care of, and not have to rely on. I think in the past it was payday loans, which have a reputation for sometimes being predatory with interest rates, or just opening up traditional lines of credit, which are a much higher risk. But what about modern tech has kind of made this possible to do, whereas in the past maybe restaurants couldn't do that?
Yeah, so there's a few things that lined up in kind of what I like to call a perfect storm for this to actually function. So the first thing is, the modernization of workforce management. The first one. Ultimately, workforce management typically sits outside of payroll from a database perspective. And so what happens is when workforce management said, hey, we're going to go into the cloud, we're going to have these apps, employees are going to like clocking in and out. When I was an hourly worker, I didn't have access to that. So this is new. And so that's the first thing, because that's the data you need in real time, kind of shared through APIs for then a banking institution or a digital banking platform to actually, make an educated decision on advancing paycheck. So that's number one. The second component is the part that I'm talking about now, which is it had to become easier and easier for people to build financial products. There's, card processing platforms like Galileo and Marqeta that grew, that allowed, it's still an extremely expensive endeavor, but an easier endeavor to actually build card products. Banks have started to partner with, fintechs that are, I would say, faster at moving and developing new products. And so the combination of the two, the data being available, the ability to build products in a more easy way, still costs $15 to $20 million to build something like this, has made things feasible.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I think, even I'm sure there's some restaurants out there still using paper time cards. And I think the availability of, making this data go, like you said, into the cloud and available to access from other platforms has really just opened the door for new ways to pay your team. And I'd love to kind of get your thoughts too about, Clair, of course, offers real-time pay for any sort of shift hourly worker. Like you mentioned, you were a tutor, so someone who works hourly tutoring, or a rideshare driver like Uber or Lyft. But why do you think this is such a great fit specifically for restaurants and the hospitality industry?
Yeah, so I'll give you the TLDR and then go into the details. It's a great way to attract and retain talent. Simple as that. If and I'll tell stories. I was at a launch recently, and I was at a hotel, and part of that hotel, of course, has a restaurant, and in the current labor market we're in, there's a shortage of workers. But even in normal labor market, retention of workers is calculated in months, not years, typically. And so there's a high, and it's extremely expensive to onboard and attract new talent. So that's a little bit kind of the driver. Now, the reason why this really matters is because there's so many people who work paycheck to paycheck. And also we live in a world where everything is instant. And so that tiny change in user experience will make people think twice about going to another restaurant or another location to get just 25 cents increase on their paycheck, just because speed of pay oftentimes matters more than just a marginal increase in your paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's you think about differentiating yourself. The labor market for restaurants is incredibly tough right now. Employees are demanding more of their employers. And it's going to reach a point where kind of, I think we're seeing wages increase, we're seeing signing bonuses increase. But a lot of restaurants can offer those things. A lot of restaurants will get to the point where they're saying 15 is the minimum, $15 an hour pay.
Exactly.
They're saying, signing bonus, of course, we got it. That's a big thing. It's going to come to a point where everyone's offering those things. So it's like, okay, so it's tougher now. We're offering what people want. So you have to look to interesting and very different ways to retain talent and attract talent, like you mentioned. So I think that, it's perfect for the restaurant industry. But people are going to come to you instead of going to the restaurant down the block if they're going to get paid every day. Like you said, even if it's a marginal difference, 25 cents an hour, they're offering 16, I'm offering 15, but I'm paying you every day. And it just speaks to kind of how employee expectations are changing. And I think that this, like you said, a perfect storm of the way things align. People want something new, people want instant, and this is a way to offer that to them. What kind of feedback have you been getting from people who, end users of the platform? So people that are working shifts, what are they saying about their experience with using Clair?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing, again, the TLDR on this one is getting your pay in real time is a feature. It's not a product in its own. And I want to double down on this, which is this idea that you work today, get paid today. Awesome. But like, you're going to need to solve a myriad of other problems in order for this to really become a retention and attraction tool for employees, and also to create stickiness all around for everyone. And let's talk about this. If you get your pay in real time, most people will want to have access to cash, because a lot of transactions are still cash today. So you need to give people instant access to their paycheck for free, and an ability to get their money out in cash immediately, also for free, in a way to know exactly where to go. So we've built things like an ATM map embedded within our app that allows people to see where is the closest ATM, and it syncs directly with the Allpoint network, which is 55,000 free ATMs across the whole world. And almost all of them are in the US. So that's number one. The other thing that we saw was the necessity to help people budget, and also be able to say, well, look, if I'm getting paid in real time, I still need to make sure that I can pay for rent at the end of the month. Because before, you had kind of like maybe these tips coming in every day, and you're still waiting for that paycheck at the end of the month. So how do you help people feel like, yes, now we have your money now, but I want to help you make sure that you get the money at the end of the month. So we're, for example, the first provider in earned wage access to actually create a savings account the second you sign up. So you get a spending account with a card like this, and then you also get a savings account where you can put money aside for bigger expenses. The last example of what we've built is we've created an ability for people to print checks directly from the app. So they go into the app, they say, I want to print a $50 check, and I want it to be sent to myself for my landlord, for example. You can do that from the app, and then we send you the check via mail, and then you get it, in a few days, and then you can pay your rent or any expenses. Those are the tiny things that make people feel like now they're in a financial wellness ecosystem, instead of just that feature of getting your money now.
Right. So less like a paycheck every day, more like I want to say, like, it's almost like a bank, right? Clair is your bank, and you can do bill pay. You can pay your landlord right from that. You can get your money today if you want to. You don't necessarily have to do that if you don't. And then, you can use it for cash. So that's a great, thank you for kind of clarifying that. So it goes, less like, oh, I'm getting my paycheck every day. Great. It's more a holistic financial kind of system that benefits, I think, shift workers for sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, so going from there, um, how is this kind of changing? Have you have any stories from maybe a user that's like, well, I couldn't do this before, but now I'm able
Yeah.
to do this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there's quite a few, and I'm trying to figure out which one is the most interesting here. I'd say the following. I, it's the same hotel where I went for a launch, and I was the one of the restaurant workers there. I forgot the name of the restaurant. Who had signed up. I was eating at that restaurant the night that night, and kind of came over to us and said, "Oh, I signed up for Clair because I had the Clair logo on my sweater." And I said, "Oh, so why did you sign up for it?" It's like, "Well, look, my restaurant went from weekly to bi-weekly paycheck.
Yep.
And so that meant for me, with the price of gas going up, that I was not
Mm,
sure if I was going to make my gas payments at the, to come to work every day." I was like, and then they explained that created two things. One is they potentially wouldn't have the money when they need it. And so it's actually a question of smoothing out their income more of like, hey, they're liquid, right?
yeah.
They just needed the money now and they know they're going to get it in 5 days. But the other thing, which to me was really surprising, but made sense after the fact, is that created stress for the whole 2 weeks. Because during the whole time they were questioning whether they're going to have enough money, right? So it's not
Yeah.
only the, oh shoot, I don't have my card got declined, I don't have
Yeah.
enough money, my card got declined. It's also the component of I'm now stressed out for 2 weeks because I don't know if
Yep.
that's going to happen at the end of the month.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the kind of thing that I think people would have went to, less beneficial means to kind of remedy, like I mentioned before, payday loans, traditional lines of credit, that don't end up kind of netting out positive for you in the end. But, by kind of creating this financial wellness, platform for people to use, I think it's both giving them that what they need in the moment, but also helping them prepare for the future, which I think is amazing, and really, really cool. So if I'm a restaurateur, I'm thinking, I'm hearing this, I'm listening, I'm like, well, maybe this is something I want to offer my team. But what are kind of some of the things people are a little apprehensive about? Maybe some misconceptions about real time pay as an employer,
Yeah.
why they may hesitate to offer it or
Yeah.
even look into it.
Yeah, it's a great question. So the first apprehension is this idea that the employer needs to pay their employees every day. That's not what this product is about. We It's not fair for the restaurant,
Yeah.
really, because we know the cash position that they're in. So the first thing is there are service providers that typically work with workforce management or work with the payroll provider that can offer this without any commitments on capital.
Yeah.
If the provider that offers that to them and that's the only option that they think exists, then no, look around because there's other options out there. That's number
Yeah.
one. The second one is this is predatory for my employees. Typically, wage advance companies will charge something like a $5 fee for a wage advance, or $3 fee, or $2 fee. They usually say it's the same thing as an ATM fee. That's usually the sentence that you get.
Yeah.
And then a lot of employers will say, well, okay, so if all of my employees take wage advances 3 times a month, that's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I don't feel good charging my employees.
Right.
And actually, they're right? If they feel like that, then they're right. The answer to that is there are other providers like Clair that exist that offer, I think we're the only ones, but that offer this whole product completely for free. And then the last one is, oh my God, is this going to change my payroll process? Meaning like, hey, if I do advances, we have to reconcile things later and all of that. The answer again is no. Clair has an ability to have one tiny change in the payroll process, which is people updating their account and routing number to a Clair card.
Right.
And so that's all they would do. That's also very typical. It's not usually a big lift. There's usually self sign-ons for employees to do it themselves. So usually even managers don't hear about it.
Yeah.
And then from a marketing perspective, there's no lift either, because a product like Clair is completely embedded within the existing workforce management system. So all of those scary questions that we typically get from employers usually have those sorts of answers.
Yeah. And just so, to clarify a little bit as to how it works, with payroll. So let's say I work and my, what I'll earn for 2 weeks is, just make it math easy, is $1,000. But I needed to, fix my car. I needed an oil change. I wanted to go out to dinner, so I took out $250 advance. How does that then work when I get paid? Does it just go, I'm getting 750 into my account and the other 250 is just
Yeah.
going to you?
Yeah. So let's say your paycheck is $1,000,
Yep.
and then you took in advance $250. Again, you're going to get that instantly in your credit card at $250. You have zero fees. It's right away in your card. It's available to spend. Now, when your $1,000 paycheck arrives, let's say 6 days later,
Yeah.
the $1,000 will hit your account on the Clair account. That's your direct deposit account.
Right.
It arrives. When that arrives, we will just look at how much we've advanced to you in that past pay period, and we'll just take it back.
Cool.
It's simple. You have nothing to do, and it's a pretty straightforward process.
And no interest, no fees.
No interest, no fees, no monthly fees, no tips. We won't require you to say, "Hey, please tip us for doing this."
Yeah.
We know other companies do that. We don't give you a transaction fee. We don't have any ATM fees. That's how it is.
It's a game changer for pay, for compensation, and for wages for shift workers. And I think, you mentioned, and if there's anything else, what kind of separates you from other providers is that you're not putting any onus on the restaurant itself or on the
Right.
payroll. They're not running through ADP payroll paychecks every day, which costs them money to do because it costs money to run payroll. It's almost no impact on kind of that process, other than, like you said, a small change on the employee side. That an HR person may have to improve a change to a account number, routing number, but that's kind of par for the course, and that's a normal thing. To kind of close out a little bit, how do you see both Claire and then also the industry evolving alongside, with offering this for people that work in it?
Yeah. So I think the thing that I'm most excited about for the restaurant industry is the ability to include tips. In paying people in real time. It's an extremely complicated process, but that would be a complete game changer, because it would allow people to not have to carry so much cash around, both for the restaurants and the employees. If you can pay your friends in 2 seconds on Venmo, you should also get your tips in real time. It should be an autopilot. It's an extremely complicated problem. Again, if it was easy, it would have already been done. But I think that's the next natural step.
Yeah, I think that also too, like, I worked my 8-hour shift, my 9-hour shift. I got, my 15 an hour wage, whatever that is. I'm not gonna do the math live because I'm embarrassed myself. But I also made, 120 in tips on those orders on my tables, or whatever. If it's a tip pool, the team made X amount and my payout is 120. I get that plus my wage if I need it in real time. And I think that is going to solve a lot of issues for restaurant workers in terms of financial wellness. And overall that just impacts mental health, and it makes working in the restaurant industry better. And I think that's what you guys are trying to do, which is admirable. That's what we're trying to do here at Seven Shifts as well, offering more schedule flexibility, better communication, and things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, to kind of close it out today, I'm a restaurateur. I want to start offering this. I'm interested in learning more about Claire. Where can I find you?
The best thing to do is to reach out to you guys, Seven Shifts. We want to be as far. We want to be one of those applications you never even have to think about. We want it to run in the back end. That's our goal. So the idea is reach out to Seven Shifts. You guys, if you were. The fascinating thing, you walk into a restaurant, right? You have all these different iPads everywhere. When we built the company, our idea was like, we don't want to be another tool that they have to deal with. We want to enable existing providers to do this on their own. And so our view is, we don't need to. We're not going to come sell you. It's going to be embedded into one of the solutions you already have.
Nice. And I think that when we talk to restaurateurs, they're apprehensive about adding, like you said, yet another iPad, yet another service, yet another monthly fee. So making it easier, I think, is the way forward. And with that, Niko, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Dominique. It's been great. I love what you guys are doing at Seven Shifts, and also what this means for the industry.
And we appreciate that
so much.
Absolutely. And we really admire what you guys are doing as well. That's why we're proud to call you a partner and proud to work with you. in providing this for restaurant employees and teams. So Niko, thanks again. Thanks again for checking out the Restaurant Growth Podcast. We're glad to have you as a listener. For more great content from 7 Shifts, check out our website and blog, 7shifts.com/blog. You can also hit us on all of the social media platforms at 7 Shifts. Thanks.